We have a lot of different strategies with our paid social to either drive engagement. We're doing a lot more in video, trying to gain video views. We just completed an RFP with a vendor to create a bunch of new videos for Minnesota to engage potential travelers in things that are doing around the state, grow our fan base, as well as to drive traffic to our website. And then we're also doing a program this summer again for the third year called Checkpoint Minnesota. This was a program we weren't sure we were going to do it for a third year, but we've had a lot of success and interest in the industry to get people traveling about Minnesota in the wintertime. Sometimes it's a challenge. We put up these signs at different locations throughout the state, encourage people to have their photograph taken in front of these sites, and then they're eligible to win prizes as they share that information with us and with each other. So that's a program, it's a unique partnership with a wide variety of businesses and companies and destinations all throughout the state. So we'll look for that come December. Doing some partnerships with the Minnesota Ski and Snowboard Association again this winter, and a couple other partnerships as well. So I want to kind of start to wrap it up and talk about where we're going to move forward from here. What is the future of the Only in Minnesota campaign? And when we started, I mentioned this morning, when we started this campaign of Only in Minnesota, we did it because people didn't know about our state. They didn't know what we had. We needed to talk about the things that are unique. And when we talked about the things that were unique, we ended up talking about activities and destinations all throughout the state of Minnesota. We ended up with 5 or 6 different spring, summer executions, 2 or 3 winter executions, 2 fall executions, trying to capture all the uniqueness of Minnesota. One of the well, it's been very successful. One of the challenges with these spots is it's a lot of information. After a while, it becomes a little bit of noise. There's just so much that's only in Minnesota. So we wanted to slow it down a little bit. And this is based on some research that we did. And kind of also is in keeping with what we were talking about during our breakup as to why do people travel? What does it make you feel? What does it make you do? What does travel to one of your properties do for your customers' health, for relationships, for their well-being, for their productivity when they come back? So we really wanted to slow it down. Let's still focus on the uniqueness of Only Minnesota, but focus a little bit more on the emotion. We did, by the way, I forgot to mention, we did look a little bit at the competitive landscape, tried to take a look at a lot of the advertising that other states are doing. I won't make you laugh and make you see one of the Wisconsin commercials, but we did look at some of the Wisconsin commercials. We looked at Illinois, we looked at Iowa, Colorado, Michigan, etc. So, but what we ended up with was this moving away from breadth to depth. We wanted to basically focus on fewer places with richer experiences, getting more into that emotional connection as to why to travel only in Minnesota. And so that, I think probably the only thing you really need to remember from this slide here is that all in the middle, emotion. We want to get to the emotional connection of travelers and what it is that a trip does when you travel abroad in Minnesota. So we're going to do 3 new summer TV spots. I don't have anything to show you right now. They did some of the filming already, and they're doing some of the editing right now. But this one here, and I'll just kind of show it. I'll just read to you some of the voiceovers. When there's shots from breweries and from the North Shore and from First Avenue and Northern Lights, I'm sure it's at Minnesota Resort, et cetera, et cetera. But the voiceover, this one's called Measure Your Moments. Our favorite moments aren't measured in time. They're measured in bellyaches, the number of tangles in your hair, constellations, oohs, ahs, butterflies, and bravery. Come measure your moments differently, only in Minnesota. So you kind of get a sense without actually seeing, without reading what all those different shot lists are, how it would be put together, how we're trying to slow it down and get to more of the emotional connection. This is another one that we're going to be doing that has a little bit more of a point of view. It's called She Belongs to You. And it's not necessarily just about a woman, it's about a woman's point of view and about what a vacation in Minnesota can do for you. So the voiceover is, she beams, she glows, colorful mystery and adventure. She's a guide, she's a route, a story and a song. She is this moment, she is this day, she is this place, and she is here, waiting for you. So I have a lot of high hopes for my agency coming up with some really great spots, because I think the storyboard is really getting to where we wanted to evolve this campaign. And then the last one that I wanted to mention is we are trying to take advantage of the fact that golf is going to be a big focus in Minnesota this next year, and partly it's because of the Ryder Cup. And I think from a tourism perspective, we're not as concerned about the number of people that come to the Ryder Cup, because they're going to sell those tickets no matter what I do. But it gives us attention to this state in a way that we could never do on our own. It's country against countries. This globally is a bigger event than the Super Bowl is. And so this is giving us an opportunity to really talk about the uniqueness of the state, to talk about the unique golf opportunities. We've already done some things promoting golf. We actually had someone at the Ryder Cup last year in Scotland. We've been doing some familiarization tours with some media in Norway and in the UK. And we're doing a number of other promotions next year. And we were able to get Tom Lehman from Alexandria to be our spokesperson and to be doing some spots for us. Actually, we're going to be using this for the next 3 years. And these are spots, and I won't read the voiceover on this, but basically it's Tom Lehman with a mentor taking moments worth sharing that you can see only in Minnesota. So I really look forward to seeing those spots when they're done, and they will be debuting next spring. So that's just a little bit of where we've been in marketing, and then where we're going to be going in the spring or next winter, and then the spring, summer next year. But the listening sessions, I wanted to kind of conclude with a little note of that. And I mentioned earlier that we've had listening sessions all throughout the state of Minnesota, where we're trying to figure out how do we grow travel and tourism beyond where we are right now. We are at a $13 billion industry right now. We want to become a $20 billion industry by the year 2020. And if you look at the trend lines, is where we've been, you take a straight line on where those dots are, we're not heading to 20 billion by 2020. But it's an aspirational goal. And so what do we need to do to get there? What are the things that we need to be thinking about? Not only just in terms of marketing, but also in terms of things like product development or business operations, some of the issues that we were talking about that are important to you from the resort industry perspective. So we've been going around the state, asking questions about how to grow travel and tourism over the next several years, and using that to develop our strategic plan for the next 2 years. We also, in addition to the listening sessions we've had throughout the state, there's also going to be an industry survey coming out, so look for that in EMT Express. And if you feel the need to comment further, if you weren't at this morning's session, and you want to give us your thoughts and your ideas on things we should be thinking about, please provide input or mention that also to your members that are on the Explore Minnesota Tourism Council, that are Bruce and Dave that are here as well, and they'll take that back to us when we have our final discussion with the Tourism Council in December. And there's a lot of things that I heard. Somebody was asking me earlier, what are the themes? And we didn't necessarily hear exactly the same things in every single destination, because this is an incredibly diverse state, from the interests in southern Minnesota to northern Minnesota to the metro area. Every part of the state focuses on a different market, they focus on a different consumer, they have a different product, etc. We wanted to try to make sure that we listen to some of those important comments and thoughts about how to grow travel and tourism. And we have the challenge of representing the diversity of the state. Incredibly diverse state, where we have to be able to address the issues of medical tourism in Rochester, as much as meetings and events in the Twin Cities, as much as resorts in the outdoors in northern Minnesota. So we need to represent the diversity of the state. We also heard that growing tourism is more than just marketing. It's issues such as workforce, we were talking about that this morning, employment, transportation, environment, etc. We talked in one of our sessions about the development of a tourism master plan. We really need to think about what are we going to do in terms of product development. It's something we haven't really been talking about a lot. That it's more than just it's more than just the regular seasons. It's also the shoulder seasons we need to be thinking about, as well as some new markets, co-ops, partnerships. People like the Only in Minnesota campaign. International is a growth opportunity. We talked about events. There may be a need for some sort of statewide approach to deal with these events. Because when I'm asked to fund different events in Minnesota, the Ryder Cups and the Super Bowls, as well as the smaller events, I don't have a mechanism for which that we can address them. So if we're going to do something like that, how would we do that in a way that addresses the entire state? So we heard a lot of conversation about that. We also heard conversation about the welcome centers and how do we modernize them and really meet the needs. They provide an important service for people coming and looking for information and brochures, but how are they dealing with the customer with today's needs? And one of the simple points that came up in many sessions is Wi-Fi. Why don't we have Wi-Fi in our homes? Pretty simple thing you would think, but that was an interesting comment that we heard throughout the state. So I'm going to pretty much wrap it up there. I'm not going to show this one final video. I do want to mention that our statewide tourism conference is coming up in Bemidji. So think big in Bemidji on February 2nd and 3rd at the Sanford Center, and I encourage a lot of you to partake in all of that. So look for more information in EMT Express. And then I just wanted to finish with one final image, which kind of fits off of this phrase here that tourism brings people together. You know, I was talking to someone earlier today that I've had the privilege of working for 3 different governors of 3 different political parties. And I think that's because our industry isn't necessarily viewed as a political industry. Our industry and the things that I always advocate for is tourism and travel and the fun of tourism and travel. And no matter what your affiliation, tourism can bring a lot of people that maybe have different points of view together. And if you don't believe it, take a look at this one last slide. That was at the governor's fishing hole. Democrat, Republican. People that don't necessarily get along, having fun, traveling, and visiting Minnesota during the governor's fishing hole. So with that, thank you, Jim. Thank you all very much for your attention. Thank you.